Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Colivers Club by Melon. Today we have the pleasure of interviewing Morgane. Morgane is one of the best community managers we have met. She started being a community manager in K9 in Sweden, which was a residential co-living, and since then she has been in the co-living world.
Yeah, we met Morgane thanks to her podcast, Humans Inside the Bots, where she talks with different people that live in communities. And thanks to this connection, we started talking more about Melon and our different projects, and we made a really good friendship, though we never met in person. And she's really a really lovely person, and she has her own co-living in UK that is called Life at Selgars, and she has written two books about communities and co-livings. One is called Eat Your Cake and Share It Too. So it's definitely a one person that is really into community building, and it's a really interesting episode for you to hear.
Hello, welcome everybody to a new episode of Colivers Club, powered by Melon. Here today we have Morgane Oléron. She is a human copywriter, community architect, and co-founder of Life at Selgars, and author of Have Your Cake and Share It Too. A lot of things going on. How are you today?
I'm really good. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you. Actually, it's the first time we have a millionaire in the podcast. Can you explain us a little bit about how that happened?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for pointing that out, because you're the one who made me realize I was a millionaire. It's because a year and a half ago, we took over a mill with my partner, which makes us millionaires, of course.
Of course. And where is it located?
It's located in Devon, which is in the southwest of the UK. We're about 2 hours away by train from London, which is where we used to be, 3 years before.
And this co-living is actually quite interesting because you also do kind of events and weddings even.
Yeah, so we have a mixed use, I guess that's how architects or developer call it. We do co-living, we call it Life at Selgars. Selgars is the name of the estate. And so we do co-living from, well, we've only done it 2 seasons. It's a second season ending now, but probably from November this year unto end of March. And then from April to end of October, we have events. We run our own retreats. We run other people's retreats, team retreats, gathering, embodied leadership, this kind of activities, and also some weddings for people who want to get married in a less traditional way, I guess, I would say.
That's the ultimate team building, right?
Yes, absolutely.
There's no other, nothing higher than that.
No.
And to me, it's interesting how you can blend both things in the same place, right? Do you have any difficulties with that, or even you see some synergies happening?
I think I'm sure there's lots, and I'm sure if I re-listen to the podcast, I'll be like, oh, I should have said that. But I think the biggest challenge for me, and I don't even think it's a challenge for my partner. So we've divided the work. So I'm more on the co-living side, and he's more on the events. But we're still both living here and working from here. I think for me, the difficulty is the difference of energy. Like the way you're obviously fully involved in the co-living, you live with the people, you eat with them, you get to know them. It's very intimate. And then after 5 months, you kind of like take a step back and retreat into your space, and the events, unless it's our own events, obviously, but otherwise you kind of just show around, help a little bit, but you're not in it. And I think it's a very big difference in like energy and environment, and they both have good and bad, right? So that for me is a bit of a challenge. Yes, there's quite a bit of synergy actually. Like, so the people I was telling you before we started recording, so the people we have now who've been with us for some 2 months, some just a few weeks, they've now asked if they could extend. I mean, we're supposed to close the co-living now at the end of this month, and they've all asked like, well, can we just a little bit longer, and we have an event coming, and they actually all wanted to join that event. It's our own event. And then one of the women who's there, she's a therapist, and she is going to host her own retreats in 3 weeks here. And that just happened from chatting and being here. So we can see that things are happening, and same way the other way around is that people who've been to events last summer, they ended up co-living with us this winter. So it's really nice.
Nice. So there's a lot of synergies going around.
Yeah.
That's also interesting and cool that you are able to see that and capitalize on it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great way to get to know who's going to live with you in the winter, right? You have a couple of events, and then you have fun with them, and you're like, I can live with that person.
And why this place? How did you find it?
Why this place? I mean, I don't know how far I can go back, but basically, my partner and I, Anton is his name. We met in a community in Stockholm. It's called K9 Co-living. K9, the number, has nothing to do with dogs. And that was about 6 years ago now. And so we both have this passion for community living. And he's British. So when after 2.5 years in Sweden, he moved back to the UK, I ended up following him. And we were living in London for 3 years in our own flat, and we were really much missing the feeling of living with others, but not just living with others, but also, having a space where we could welcome people and also being closer to nature. If people know Stockholm, it is a capital, but it I don't know, it has so much nature around. London is very different. And so we were really missing that. And so we started kind of like looking around, but it's really difficult. Like it's well, first of all, at the time we were not millionaires. So the budget is always a problem. And then the regulations and yeah. So we were kind of giving up on that. And then alongside that, we were working on an event project called Enchanted, which is a gathering of people who have who share interest in how to live together in the future, how to grow your own food, how to, approach the future in a more playful way rather than the very depressing things we see on TV, basically. And so we were looking for a place in nature, not too far from London, to host that event. And we found this place, and we booked with the people who were running it. And a few months after that, they told us that they were closing and that they had to give us the deposit back. And if it wasn't for my partner, we would probably not, taken the deposit back and move on. But he was like, no, we're doing it. So
we'll take the deposit and the place.
Yes. And so he got in touch with the owner, and he negotiated that we would take over and have basically renting it for 2 years to test our business idea, and with an option to buy this year, which is what we're doing right now. Yeah.
Oh, right. And you are buying it, no?
Well, I mean, we definitely want to buy it. It's a lot of moving pieces. We're doing everything we can to buy it.
Well, it's a mill, no? It's supposed to have moving pieces.
Exactly. Right? It's constantly moving. So it is looking good. All our fingers and toes are crossed. So we'll see. We'll know more towards middle of the year, end of the year. Yeah.
Nice. That's very cool. And do you see in the future leaning towards more the co-living, or do you think it will always be a mix of events and co-living?
It's a very good question. We ask ourselves that a lot. People ask us that a lot. So the first co-living season we did was only 3 months, and this year we've extended it to 4. And next season will definitely be 5. So every year I'm pushing a little bit more from my side of the business, and because I love co-living and it's just so lovely. And people also want to. Winter here is lovely, but of course people also want to push to extend a little bit the spring. To be really honest, events and retreats is what makes us more, money to buy the place. So.
Oh, I would thought maybe the co-living, since this was more regular or more constant, it will be.
No, we're doing, or the co-living is great, and we're also doing it in a way that it allows us to sustain ourselves, of course, but it's definitely not what is allowing us to buy the place. And so I think at least for the coming years, while we'll have to pay the loan back as well, right? We're probably going to have events and retreats regardless of what we want. But to be honest, we kind of like the balance. I mean, I know I said energetically it's a bit of a challenge for me, but I think it's also very nice because it's a shift. We do something else, we get inspired by other people, and then we're so excited to get back into co-living. And I think also for my partner, Anton really loves events. I'm neutral. Depends on the event. But so yeah, I think for now we really like the balance of the two. Yeah. But my ultimate dream, and I don't know if he shares that, but my ultimate dream would be to have we have several buildings here. So to have some of the buildings dedicated to long-term co-living, so people who could stay like a year or two even. And then the main building that remains for shorter events of stay. So then we could kind of combine both.
What kind of events you like organizing?
Well, we have our own gathering called Enchanted that I mentioned.
Right.
That is really fun for me. I mean, we get to talk about the things I'm really interested in. Like, I'm really interested, like the definition of home and what it means to us and how home defines us. And especially now with digital nomads and what it means to be home or searching home. And so, yeah, we get to talk about that. We get to talk about, community, which is all I talk about. So, yeah, events like that, really fun. I like, I mean, not obviously, but obviously for me, yoga retreats and this kind of like well-being retreats are always really nice. But yeah, honestly, any kind. The team retreats are quite interesting because you get to observe a little bit from afar, and you see people coming together and playing games, and it's very nice to feel like you play.
I made you friends, no? Like I'm responsible for your friendship, and
you play a small part in their team coming together. So it's quite.
And if maybe somebody gets together in the co-living, then you can offer a package for the wedding to be organized in the.
Actually, we had a couple here. They didn't meet in the co-living, but they came as a couple. And they were talking.
It will happen.
It will happen. It's only our second season.
Happen, sure.
Anton and I met in a co-living, so it will definitely happen.
Hey Al, Ramon here. I want to tell a story about how some years ago I got bitten by a dog in Kopangan, Thailand. And last year I also had to go to the dentist while traveling. Luckily, in both cases, I was covered by Safety Wing and got all my money back. They offer a nomad insurance that has you covered with global health and 24/7 support. Plus, they have flexible plans that you can purchase anytime, anywhere. You can also cancel or pause them if you want. And definitely, the best thing that you get from them, in my opinion, is the peace of mind that you are covered while traveling. So yeah, if you want to give it a try, I will leave a link here with a discount for you guys.
You mentioned the co-living in Stockholm, that it's a residential co-living for long-term stays. What do you see, or what difference do you see with like co-livings that are maybe not so long stays?
It's quite a lot. Well, I need to say also that it's a long-term co-living that is self-managed. So the residents are organizing everything. There's no community manager. So it's it demands a little bit of engagements from the start. They have house meetings every month. They have teams with different roles. And I think that is one of the main differences. Obviously, in short stay, like we're doing here, people do take responsibility. I mean, we've had amazing project appear here because people just had that idea. But it's different in the sense that everybody knows that it's temporary, even if it's temporary for like 2 months or 3 months. And so I think people are a bit more,
aware, that it's going to end.
It's going to end, and also they're a bit more okay with being a bit challenged. because they know it's not forever, or they know it's not for a year. Well, when the place is your home for a year or 2 or 3, and something really bothers you, you're like, well, I really need to address this. Whereas if you know you're here for 3 weeks, you're like, okay, well, this is a little bit annoying. I can mention it, but I don't really need to fight, you know? Yeah, exactly. Or I'll just leave and that's fine. So I think that's one difference. I'm sure there's tons of other differences, but I think also maybe when you're in a shorter stay co-living, you want to do more probably, because exactly for that, you know, you have a shorter time to experience everything and everyone. So you kind of feel like, okay, I need to take advantage of every moment. But when you leave there for a year, you're like, okay, I don't need to, hang out every night because I have 365 days to do that.
So there's less FOMO, maybe less fear of missing out.
I've experienced a lot of FOMO at K9, but yes, I think eventually there's less FOMO at the end of the day. Yeah.
And do you think big cities are going towards this model of long stay co-livings?
I think long stay co-livings are more in the big cities, yes. I don't know that they managed to create the right community. K9 has an amazing community, so I'm not talking about them, but other big co-livings that are long stay in other capitals, I wonder, I've never been, so I'm judging without knowing. So I just want to say that. But if there's a community manager, if there's an event manager, I'm just wondering, how do you genuinely, authentically create community with that?
Yeah, I think it's difficult, right? Because it seems more like a business. Of course, everything is a business, but
yeah, but you can hide it. There are ways to hide it.
yeah, true. Yeah, totally. But I mean, it seems so it's different because normally in co-livings, there's a lot of personal touch, from the owners, and they are really involved from what I've seen. I've never been into a residential co-living or things like that. It would be interesting to try for a while. But yeah, it seems like, we just want your money. But I think there should be ones that are amazing, like K9.
I mean, I'm biased, but it is amazing.
Of course. Also, you have a podcast. It's called Humans Inside the Pods.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about it?
Yes. Well, first of all, I feel really guilty because I've been on a pause with it for a while now, and I keep saying that I need to get back into it, which I will. But yeah, it's time. But yeah, so I got the idea for it because when I followed Anton to the UK, I literally moved at the same time as COVID arrived, and which means that I left my community in Stockholm, living with 50 people for 3 years, and ended up with one person and locked down. So that was really rough. I'm sure a lot of people have gone through difficulties with that as well. And I think one thing that really helped me was staying in touch with my friends in Stockholm. And eventually we were, I can't remember who I was talking to at the time, but I was just like, I miss those conversations so much, around the breakfast table or on the Sunday, just chatting away for hours. And one of my friends said, well, just call people and do that. And I'm like, I'll do that. And then I'll record them because I can keep them for myself. And sometimes we say things that are so brilliant, and I want to keep that, and I want to understand more about community, and I'm frustrated because I'm here and alone, and so all of this in my head, and I thought I'm just going to record my conversations with my friends from the community, and we'll see where it goes. I loved it. I enjoyed doing it so much. I didn't really care if anyone listened, to be honest. The goal at the beginning was just to kind of encapsulate those stories of my experience at K9 with these people, and then eventually, as I was progressing, like after 20, 25 people from the house, I realized that there are other co-livers out there. And that's kind of how it kind of became what it is that I started reaching out to other places. And it really helped me get a foot in the door of the co-living industry, actually, at the same time, because I got to meet other owners and I got to work with them. So yeah, it's been really cool.
And maybe this is how the Co-living Hub project started, or?
No, so that existed way before. But I reached out to them also as I moved to London. I was looking for a job online, and they were looking for someone. And so Haz is one of the co-founder of Co-living Hub. He's also the co-founder of Escape. So he has Swiss Escape and Greek Escape. I reached out to him, and yeah, it worked out. And I've been working for Co-living Hub ever since. It was like, yeah, it's been 4 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, time flies.
You are very involved in the community.
Yeah.
You also, your original job, let's say, is being a copywriter.
Yeah, I guess that's my original job. I mean, the original job is a long time ago, but yeah, I'm a copywriter now. I write mostly about community, but I also write about well-being at work, the future of work, the future of living, basically. I've kind of like, and when I say future, I mean right now, but this is how people think about it, right? Like, how can we work better as a team, and how can we live better as a community, basically, are the main topics that I address. But I wouldn't say I can write about anything. I wouldn't be that but yeah, I love writing. That's always been my passion. So
how did you make your way into like online copywriting and being a nomad?
I think the same way I made my way into co-living. It's just like, I was like, I love this and I need to do it for a living, so please pay me for it. I don't know. I think, honestly, I think I started with Co-living Hub in 2020. Before that, I was a community manager, like physically in a space for co-working and co-living in Stockholm. So I was also spending a lot of my time writing, like newsletter, SOPs, like, documents explaining how to do onboarding and all of that. And then I joined Co-living Hub, and everything was online, and they needed someone mostly for marketing. And so I started writing a bit more. And then through the podcast, I met Katja from Chateau Coliving.
Ah, nice.
Yes.
I'm going to go there in a few weeks.
So jealous. It's so amazing there. And she needed a little bit of help on some things, newsletter, a bit of copy for the website, things here and there. So I did that, and it kind of like snowballed from there.
Nice. And also you have your own newsletter?
Yes. I mean, yeah, I guess I do.
Where can people find you?
Yeah, so I have a website called Life on Fifth. Life on Fifth is a reference to the fifth floor of the community I used to live in Stockholm. There are all my projects, and I'm a bit like, I don't promote it much because I'm not very regular with it, so I send it out when I think about it.
Doing some writing of my own right now, and sometimes I'm facing this writer's block.
Yeah.
Can you tell me some tips on how to overcome that?
I don't. I just stopped writing. What do you write about?
Okay. Oh man, I'm writing a book about comedy and programming.
Oh my God. All right.
Let's see. Yeah, it's very sarcastic. I'm just telling you how to do code in such a bad way, so people don't really know what is going on, and so they cannot fire you because they don't understand your code. So you are irreplaceable.
Love it.
So yeah, that's the idea.
I mean, yeah, writer's block. I mean, it's gonna sound so cliche, but like, I remove myself from the moment. So if I'm staring at my page and nothing comes out, I just stand up and I go outside. I mean, I'm very privileged. I have a beautiful, almost like park outside my door, and I just take a walk. I take the dog out for a walk, and usually as I'm walking, ideas come. They might not be good. Usually they're rubbish, but at least I get something, and then I start writing about that, and then eventually it snowballs into something. But I think for me, the biggest problem is procrastination. It's just like, I'm going to write, and then I never do it. And so the one thing that really helps is co-living, because I tell people I'm writing this book, and then everybody gets excited, and then they're like, what are you writing about? And then I have nothing to show for. And then eventually someone also wants to write, and then we set those times, like Wednesdays from 10 to 12, we write. And then you have this like positive peer pressure that you have to do it.
For example, some idea of a book I read recently called Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
What you refer to is an accountability partner, somebody that you tell them, oh, I'm going to do this. And maybe if I don't, I need to pay you dinner or something like this.
I didn't think of that. Yeah.
there's also this nice idea where you can sign a contract, so make it super formal, like because even if when you sign it, it seems super important, even though it's for something like writing a book each day, a page or something like this. So yeah, there are a lot of good ideas in this book. And another subject I wanted to mention is being a copywriter. What do you think about ChatGPT? Or these AIs? Are they going to steal your job, or what's going on?
Yes, of course they are. I mean, they've already started. I've already not been fired for, but I've already been kind of like half replaced from some of the people I work for. Honestly, at first I'm not a huge fan of progress for the sake of progress, I'm like, I love, of course, progress for like, healing people and feeding people, of course. So I'm always looking at these things a bit like, okay, let's see what happens. Obviously, I'm directly impacted because it's taking over my job. It makes me sad in a way because, of course, I understand people's argument that, yeah, it will help people who don't know how to write or who don't like to write. It will help them a lot. And I completely understand. But we're losing so much creativity and we're losing so much beauty of what words can do. And it's a bit of a shame that because people tell me, well, eventually ChatGPT will know how to write as well as we. But it's like, it's a bit of a shame, isn't it? It's like, I was a bit, yeah, I'm not sure what I think about it. I get it. I understand it's exciting. I think it's a bit of a shame that we're losing creativity and that we're losing what makes us human. But I guess I have to live with my time and it's fine. I'll find another job.
Like a co-living owner.
Yes.
Yeah, to me, it's interesting that you mentioned creativity, because ChatGPT and all these AI tools, they are based on data that is created by us, or I don't know, perhaps by other robots. And it kind of uses this data to generate ideas. So one can say that, okay, they are not original ideas because it's based on data, no? Previously created and these things. But don't we humans do that as well?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Is there any idea that is really or truly original?
No, I fully agree with that. I think for me, it's more about the joy that we get from it because writing makes me so happy. I mean, really
the ChatGPT does it for you, and then you get the results.
Yeah, and what's the point? And that's the thing. It's like I'm trying to explain to my clients, but I mean, of course, I understand they just want results. But it's like when they send me a text that's been written by ChatGPT and they tell me, "Can you check that?" It's soulless for me, right? Because I'm checking something. It's just, yeah, of course, yeah, it's good. It's English and it makes sense and it gives the information and it even has a nice little joke at the end. Great, but you're taking away the only interest in my job, which is creating something. And of course, I'm not coming up with a unique idea, but it's taking away the joy in some of the things we do as human. That's all.
For example, when I'm writing the book, every sentence and everything is like, yeah, there's this spark of creativity, and I can see my brain kind of trying to fit in the words or the ideas.
Yeah.
And yeah, whenever I use ChatGPT for something menial, that it doesn't matter, it's like, okay, yeah, for this I don't mind not writing it.
Exactly.
But yeah, people, I guess they're going to misuse the tool, of course.
Yeah, there's also one thing that worries me a little bit is also the bias, right? Because like you say, it's based on data that's been fed by people. And let's face it, who are the people who are feeding us data? I mean, then it comes with the bias. I mean, I read something somewhere about it's probably not the case anymore, but at the beginning when you asked, okay, probably it's DALL-E, but anyway, same thing. They asked DALL-E to provide an image of a doctor and they showed a white man, right? Because of course it can be a person of color or it can be a woman, and so it's like, yeah, I don't know. Are we just going to reproduce all the bias that we already have in society? That's
AI specialists, they have to adjust the weights so in order to compensate for bias, for racism, sexism, but it's such a difficult task. And it's also kind of biases against the people who don't have access to the internet.
God, so true.
Because yeah, we are having this data about maybe what North America, mostly Europe, but what about the rest? No,
Absolutely, yeah.
It's interesting, but yeah, I don't know. For example, for generating contracts or these things. Oh, but yeah, I truly now I'm also on your side with this creativity. That's yeah, it's so joyful, no,
Yeah.
to write, and people really lose interest in that. Yeah, it's a pity. Talking about writing, and how do you think people can improve their writing? What are maybe 3 tips you can give them?
Reading. I mean, so stupid,
Oh,
but
yeah.
like, it's I notice it every day. I force myself to read every day, even if it's just like 10 pages, and I really really see it every day. I discover, I mean, especially because English is not my first language, so reading in English, I keep like feeding myself new vocabulary. Yeah, just constantly reading everything you see. As soon as you stop a book, start another book. That's how I do it. Writing a little bit every day in the same way as you're reading a little bit every day. And I think challenge, and that's something I'm struggling with, and I'm really trying to do now, is challenging myself with new formats, because I know, I was going to say, I know I'm good at it. Like I'm happy with what I provide when I write an article, or I started the Substack and I'm writing those long pieces, and I'm like, I know how to do that. People like it or not, that's another debate, but I know how to do that. But I, how to write a Google ad, less exciting probably, so I don't do it. But it would be cool to learn how to do that. Or the other day, someone asked me if I knew how to write grant proposals. I've never done that, but I'm like, whoa, how does that work, right? And so, like, being curious in different ways of writing and different formats, I think, is good to challenge yourself on that to progress.
There's a technique I wanted to learn or to investigate. It's free writing, I think it's called. It's when you just write things, maybe they don't make sense. Or have you tried that?
I feel like I do it every time I'm on a call and I'm a bit bored, and I just like on the side. Not really. I did try. There was a time when I was at K9. There was a time where I set myself this challenge to write every day, 30 days, whatever would come. Like I would sit like half an hour and just write whatever comes. Actually, it was really good, and a lot of it went into the book eventually afterwards. But yeah, I've never done the free flow thing. Yeah.
I wanted also to ask you where are you originally from?
France. I was born in Paris. Yeah, I was going to say a long time ago. I was born in Paris. I grew up in the suburb, and then when I was 23, I moved to Sweden, and then I lived there for a long time.
The residential?
No, I moved with my ex-partner. We moved into our own space, and then we lived there for like, I don't know, 7 years. And then for 3 years, I lived in the community. So 10 years in Sweden, and now I'm entering my 4th year in the UK.
And you think you will retire in the UK in the future?
Probably. I mean, if we do, fingers crossed, do get to buy this place, I don't see myself going anywhere else. I mean, you never know, right? I never thought that I would end up in the UK, so you never know what happens. Yeah, I'm happy here.
Yeah, it must be a special place for you to even say, no, yeah, this is it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not even going to try Spain.
So I have this problem that I really don't like hot weather. I really don't. So yeah, I need to stay above Paris, basically.
You mentioned a lot about community. What issues you face normally when you're managing a community? People don't wash their dishes.
Obviously. So the number one is cleaning, right? Even though we have cleaners coming. Yeah, it's the use of the shared space. It's quite interesting. We've only had 2 seasons, but so we can just compare those 2 for now. But the first season, everything came together very organically. So we had obviously some ground rules. Don't set your room on fire, stuff like that. But then
very good tip.
Yeah. But then all kind of naturally we ended up having dinner together all the time. We didn't create a rota, but somehow people said, "Oh, I'm making dinner tonight," and it just happened that we were just doing that one after the other. So yeah, everything. There were no. I can't remember really having a house meeting or anything like that. It just happened, and it was really nice. And then this year we thought, okay, well, I'm just going to do that again, and it didn't work at all. The first few weeks, everybody was kind of like completely lost and confused. And I mean, it was fine. We were handling it, but it was very interesting for us to see the difference.
You think it's because they maybe are less experienced?
Yeah,
or...
I think there's a bit of that. They were less experienced. There was more people. So the first season we didn't have as many. Now we were a full house. And so after 2-3 weeks, we were like, okay, we're gonna have a house meeting. We're gonna talk things through, and we're gonna set some rules on top of the ground rules. Yeah, it really helped. So that was very interesting for us to notice that, because the strategy that we've chosen with Anton is that obviously we're leading because we're here, we live here, and we run the place, but we don't want to be community managers. We're not going to have an exciting event every day. People are welcome to organize their own events, and we really want this to be co-created. And we didn't want to have super strict rules, and we didn't want to have to be the one saying, this is how it has to be done, and you have to do that. We wanted people to discuss it between them and come up with a solution, which can be very uncomfortable. And I know a lot of people would rather be like, no, you guys decide and then we all follow. But we consciously decided not to do that, which also brings interesting conversations. So yeah, just deciding what's right, what's wrong, finding the rules for the season. And so that's one thing. Cleaning, of course. Another challenge. I mean, I think it's for people especially people who are new to shared living, is just finding the right balance between extrovert and introvert. Like they usually have this honeymoon period, and then they crash socially, and then they kind of find their middle. And so, yeah, it's helping them through that, because it will happen.
Yeah, are there introverts in Colivings? Never heard of this.
I'm an introvert.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I love co-living, love it. But yeah, I need to be on my own a lot.
I've been reading this book called Quiet. It's about introverts and extroverts. Well, it mainly focuses on introverts because they are usually forgotten. No, people don't, but they're super important, and they're in the corner, quiet, and and I think it's super important to when you manage a place like a co-living to make sure you have a space for different types of personalities. It cannot be everything about events and extrovertism, no, and because then it needs some reflection, and I think it's cool that maybe you also can provide this for your guests.
Yeah, and I think it's about letting them know that it's okay not to join all the time. I remember we had one person asking us before they came, what is the expectation? Like, do I have to join everything? I'm like, whoa, the expectation is for you to be happy. Like, I have zero expectation in terms of attendance, right? I don't keep track of who's here or not. If you can't join, you don't join.
Call row.
No, exactly. So yeah, just see this as your home, right? And then feel free to drop in and out. And usually what happens is once they're reassured that they don't have to be there, usually they're there because they want to be. But
because they take off this pressure, right?
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow, this has been a very interesting podcast episode, I think.
We've touched on a lot of different things. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. This is perfect. So thanks again.
Thanks
for coming here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Loved it.
No worries. I'm sure we'll meet sometime
for sure
in the future.
I hope so.
In another co-living or.
If you're not afraid of the cold, you're very welcome to come here.
Oh, okay. I will wait a little bit until you expand into the summer and spring, maybe. But yeah, for sure. I want to visit the mill. So yeah, this has been another episode of Colivers Club, powered by MapMelon. Thank you, Morgane, and see you soon.
Ciao.
Bye.